When I first heard the gospel, I was compelled to admit there was something reasonable about it. I almost hoped it was not true. If it is true, said I, as an honest man I shall be obliged to obey it, or else I cannot have any confidence in myself. When I had investigated the subject and became convinced that it was true, I said, I am in for it. I must embrace it. I cannot reject the principles of eternal truth. I was ready to obey it, and I am today. Well, says one, you believe the Bible? Yes. You believe in the Book of Mormon? Yes. You believe the Book of Doctrine and Covenants? Yes. I believe all that God has ever written or spoken, everything that we have on record, and I am prepared to believe everything that He will communicate to the human family. We profess to believe in all truth and to be governed by all truth.
John Taylor was born in Milnthorpe, Westmoreland, England, in the year 1808. Although his family was not wealthy, they were close-knit and religious. His parents were members of the Church of England, but John was never converted to the creeds of his parents' faith. As a youth, he often felt heaven's guiding hand, for he was instructed through dreams and visions.
Often when alone, and sometimes in company, I heard sweet, soft, melodious music, as if performed by angelic or supernatural beings.
When but a small boy, he saw in vision an angel in the heavens, holding a trumpet to his mouth, sounding a message to the nations. The import of this vision he did not understand until later in life. John's parents taught him to attend church, say his prayers, and learn the catechism. Even as a young boy, John guarded himself against any act that would offend God.
When quite a little boy, being engaged in flying a kite, a mischievous boy pulled it down and tore it. I felt very angry and used a word I knew to be profanity. As soon as I had uttered the word, I felt very much alarmed at what I'd done. I left my kite lying on the ground and ran home crying and told my mother what I'd said and asked her if she thought the Lord would forgive me.
While in his mid-teens, John Taylor joined the Methodist Church and actively labored to involve his friends in religious activities. His zeal and native abilities of expression made such an impression upon church leaders that he was appointed a lay preacher at the age of 17. While walking to an appointment, he was overcome by a powerful influence. He turned to his companion and said,
I have a strong impression on my mind that I have to go to America to preach the gospel.
John Taylor's parents moved to Toronto, Canada in 1830, and in 1832 John sailed to join them. While still in the English Channel, his ship encountered weather so severe that several vessels around it were destroyed. The officers and crew expected their own ship to sink at any time, but John remained unshaken.
So confident was I of my destiny that I went on deck at midnight, and amidst the raging elements felt as calm as though I was sitting in a parlor at home. I believed I should reach America and perform my work.
John Taylor was gifted with articulation, writing, and language. Like Wilford Woodruff, he was one of the great record keepers of the church. The prophet Joseph depended greatly on John Taylor's abilities to write and communicate the gospel message. Such a gift led to the publishing of newspapers through which the church's message could be both shared and defended. From 1855 through 1857, John Taylor was instrumental in publishing a newspaper called The Mormon, which expounded the beliefs of the Latter-day Saints and corrected false perceptions of the church, primarily in the eastern states. Brigham Young spoke of Elder Taylor's efforts.
With regard to the labors of Brother Taylor in editing the paper called The Mormon, I have heard many remarks concerning the editorials in that paper, not only from the saints, but from those who do not profess to believe the religion we have embraced. And it is probably one of the strongest edited papers that is now published.
John Taylor also edited 3 other newspapers published in Nauvoo, Illinois: the Times and Seasons for 3 years, the Nauvoo Neighbor for 2.5 years, and the Wasp for 6 months. He also contributed liberally to the newspapers published overseas: the Star of Deseret, distributed in Paris, France, and Zion's Banner, printed in Hamburg, Germany. John Taylor served faithful, successful missions in New York and Canada. Then, as the church spread overseas, he served missions in Great Britain, France, and Germany. While serving in France, Elder Taylor established 4 branches of the church, with about 400 members. One of the great accomplishments of this mission was the publication of the Book of Mormon into the French and German languages. Before departing with the other apostles, Elder John Taylor wrote a report of his labors to the saints in England. In it he bore a strong testimony of the hand of the Lord in the labors of his missionary work.
I feel to rejoice before God that He has blessed my humble endeavors to promote His cause and kingdom, and for all the blessings that I've received from this island. For although I've traveled 5,000 miles without purse or scrip, and been amongst strangers and in strange lands, I have never once been at a loss for either money, clothes, friends, or a home from that day until now. Neither have I ever asked a person for a farthing. Thus I have proved the Lord, and I know that He is according to His word. And now, as I am going away, I bear testimony that this work is of God, that He has spoken from the heavens, that Joseph Smith is a prophet of the Lord, that the Book of Mormon is true. And I know that this work will roll on until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdoms of our God and His Christ.
Throughout his assigned missions in the United States and Europe, Elder Taylor raised the warning voice. Thousands flocked to the standard of truth he helped to hold aloft. Undaunted and tirelessly, he published and defended the faith wherever the Lord called him to serve. As the prophet and president of the church, John Taylor declared his solemn witness of the truthfulness and importance of temple work for the living and the dead.
We are here to cooperate with God in the salvation of the living, in the redemption of the dead, in the blessings of our ancestors, in the pouring out of blessings upon our children. We are here for the purpose of redeeming and regenerating the earth on which we live. And God has placed His authority and His counsels here upon the earth for that purpose, that men may learn to do the will of God on the earth, as it is done in heaven. This is the object of our existence, and it is for us to comprehend the position.
John Taylor was a fearless defender and promoter of the kingdom of God. On one occasion, while preparing to preach near Columbus, Ohio in 1837, church members learned that local citizens intended to tar and feather Elder Taylor after the meeting. Although advised to cancel the gathering, he was determined to preach.
We have the right to think, to speak, to write. The right to worship God, earned by noble sires who, rather than bow to the behests of a tyrant, pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred liberties to enjoy freedom themselves, bequeath it to their posterity, or die in the attempt. I have been informed that some of you propose to tar and feather me for my religious opinions. Is this the boon you inherited from your fathers? Is this the blessing they purchased with their dearest heart's blood? Is this your liberty? If so, then you now have a victim, and we shall have an offering to the goddess of liberty. Gentlemen, come on with your tar and feathers. Your victim is ready. and shades of the venerable patriots gaze upon the deeds of your degenerate sons. Come on, gentlemen. Come on, I say, I am ready!
No one moved. No one spoke. Having faith that God would dictate the affairs of his life in trial or in peace, John Taylor continued and preached the restored gospel of Jesus Christ with great boldness and power for some 3 hours. John Taylor delivered a sermon in the Tabernacle entitled "The Kingdom of God or Nothing." This was the motto by which he lived his life.
With us, it is the kingdom of God or nothing. That is my text, and we will stick to it. We will maintain it. And in the name of Israel's God, the kingdom of God shall roll on, and all the powers of earth and hell cannot stop its progress.
Yet obedience to the kingdom of God was often misunderstood by the world in which he lived. In 1885, in order to elude anti-polygamy persecution rampant in the Utah Territory, President Taylor went into hiding. In February of 1887, the United States government passed the Edmunds-Tucker Act, which disincorporated the church and intensified the persecution against those who practiced plural marriage. Weakened by old age and the hardships of an exiled existence, President John Taylor died in Kaysville, Utah, in July of 1887. In an hour of darkness, in which the church struggled to survive, he died as a martyr to the principles of obedience and integrity, and to the restoration of the true Church of Jesus Christ. Elder Lorenzo Snow spoke at his funeral.
The Latter-day Saints feel that they have lost a friend, that we have lost a mighty counselor, that we have lost one of the greatest men that have stood upon the earth since the days of the Son of God.
April of 1880 marked the 50th year since the church was organized. President John Taylor called for a Jubilee celebration, following the custom of ancient Israel, in which the worthy poor would be released from the burden of debt.
It occurred to me that we ought to do something as they did in former times, to relieve those that are oppressed with debt, to assist those that are needy, and to make it a time of general rejoicing.
The church canceled the debts of the worthy poor who had received money from the Perpetual Emigration Fund to help them move to Utah, and who, after having arrived, had experienced hardship to the extent that they were not able to repay their debt.
The rich have a fitting opportunity for remembering the Lord's poor. If you are holding their notes and they are unable to pay, forgive the interest and the principal, or as much thereof as you might desire them to forgive, were their and your circumstances reversed, thus doing unto others as you would that others should do unto you. Free them, in whole or in part. Extend to them a jubilee. You will have their faith and prayers and confidence, which may be worth more than money.